Have you ever found yourself putting off important tasks, waiting for the right moment to get things done? You're not alone. Procrastination is something we all face. But what if I told you the ancient Stoics had powerful techniques to help you break free from it? In this video, I'll be revealing 8 secret Stoic strategies that will help you force yourself to act, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. These timeless techniques will not only help you conquer procrastination, but also transform the way you approach your goals. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have the tools to take action and change your life for the better. 1. Focus on what's in your control. Let's dive into the first secret Stoic technique, focusing on what's in your control. This idea comes from one of the key teachings in Stoicism, and it's something that can radically change the way you approach tasks and procrastination. One of the biggest reasons we procrastinate is because we feel overwhelmed. We're thinking about everything all at once, the outcome, the opinions of others, what could go wrong, and so on. When your mind is caught up in all of these things, it's no wonder you freeze up and put things off. But here's the Stoic solution. Narrow your focus to what you can control. Stoics like Epictetus taught that you can only control 2 things: your actions and your reactions. Everything else, how people respond, how the situation turns out, or the difficulties you might face, are outside of your control. Once you accept this, you can stop wasting mental energy on things you can't influence and instead channel your focus into what you can do right now. Think of it this way. If you're trying to complete a project, but you're worried about whether people will like the final product, that's not helpful. You can't control how others will react. But what you can control is the effort and care you put into the project. By focusing on this, you shift your mindset from fear and anxiety to empowerment. This technique doesn't just help with procrastination, it's incredibly freeing. When you stop stressing over outcomes and others' opinions, you can focus on giving your best in the present moment. Suddenly, the task becomes more manageable because you're only worrying about the part you can actually control. So, next time you catch yourself procrastinating, remind yourself to take a Stoic approach. Narrow your focus and just do what's in your power. 2. Break tasks into manageable parts. Now, let's talk about the second Stoic technique, breaking tasks into manageable parts. It's a simple idea, but incredibly powerful when it comes to beating procrastination. We've all been there, facing a massive project or goal that feels so big, we don't even know where to start. When we see the whole thing as one huge task, it can be overwhelming and lead to us avoiding it altogether. But the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, had a practical approach to this problem. Break it down into smaller steps. Think of it like climbing a mountain. If you stand at the bottom and stare up at the peak, the thought of getting there can feel impossible. But if you focus on just taking the first step and then the next, suddenly the journey becomes less intimidating. Each small step is something you can handle, and before you know it, you've made progress without feeling overwhelmed. The same goes for any task in life. Instead of thinking about the entire project, whether it's writing a report, starting a business, or cleaning your house, break it into smaller, more digestible parts. Let's say you need to write a 10-page report. Instead of thinking about writing the whole thing in one go, focus on writing just the introduction today. Tomorrow you can work on the next section, and so on. Suddenly, writing 10 pages doesn't seem so impossible. Breaking tasks down helps you build momentum. Once you complete one small part, it feels like a win, and that victory motivates you to keep going. It's all about taking action, little by little. So, the next time you're tempted to procrastinate because a task seems too big, remember to approach it like a Stoic. Divide and conquer. Focus on one small step at a time, and you'll get there without the overwhelm. 3. Visualize the worst-case scenario. Let's dive into the third Stoic technique. Visualizing the worst-case scenario, premeditatio malorum. This might sound a bit negative at first, but trust me, it's actually an incredibly useful way to stop procrastination and take action. So, what exactly is premeditatio malorum? The Stoics believe that by imagining the worst-case scenario, you could mentally prepare yourself for challenges and reduce the fear that often leads to procrastination. When you're scared of what could go wrong, you tend to avoid starting. But what if you took a moment to actually think about those fears? What's the worst that could happen? Let's say you've been putting off giving a presentation. You're worried that you'll mess up, forget what you're supposed to say, or maybe the audience won't like it. Those thoughts can paralyze you, right? But instead of letting those worries fester in the back of your mind, try facing them head on. What if you do forget what you're supposed to say? Maybe you'll pause for a moment, look at your notes, and then recover. What if the audience isn't impressed? Maybe a few people won't connect with it, but you'll still learn and improve for next time. By imagining these worst-case outcomes, you take away their power. You realize that even if things don't go perfectly, it's not the end of the world. You'll survive, learn from the experience, and move forward. This shift in perspective helps you reduce the anxiety that fuels procrastination. Instead of avoiding the task because of fear, you feel more prepared to handle whatever comes your way. This doesn't mean you should always expect the worst, but it helps you make peace with the fact that challenges might happen, and that's okay. The fear of the unknown loses its grip on you, and you're more likely to take action. So, the next time you're holding back on something, try using premeditatio malorum. Embrace the worst-case scenario, and watch your confidence to act grow. 4. Remember life's transience, memento mori. Let's explore the fourth Stoic technique, remembering life's transience, memento mori. At first, this might sound a bit morbid, but it's one of the most powerful motivators for action that the Stoics taught. Memento mori means remember you will die, and it's a reminder that life is short and time is limited. So, how does this help with procrastination? Well, often we put things off because we think we have plenty of time. We assume that there will always be tomorrow, next week, or next year to get things done. But the truth is, we don't know how much time we have. By keeping this reality in mind, we can stop wasting time and start taking action today. When you remind yourself that life is finite, it gives you a sense of urgency. It makes you realize that every day you procrastinate is a day you can't get back. That project you've been putting off, the dream you've been waiting to pursue, time is ticking, and if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, it may never come. This technique doesn't just inspire action, it also encourages you to focus on what truly matters. If you're constantly aware that your time is limited, you'll start prioritizing the things that are meaningful to you. You'll be less likely to waste time on trivial distractions and more likely to spend your time on activities and goals that bring you closer to your purpose. For example, think about how many times you've scrolled through social media for hours, promising yourself you'll start that important task later. But if you remind yourself that your time is precious and limited, suddenly those wasted hours feel like missed opportunities. You'll be more motivated to act, knowing that each moment is a chance to make progress. Memento mori isn't about living in fear of death, but rather about using the awareness of life's brevity to fuel your drive. It helps you realize that the time to act is now, not tomorrow, not next week. So, if you're struggling with procrastination, remember that life is short and the time to start is today. 5. Embrace discomfort and hardship. Now let's talk about the fifth Stoic technique. Embrace discomfort and hardship. This one is essential because, more often than not, procrastination happens when we try to avoid uncomfortable or difficult tasks. The Stoics, however, believe that discomfort isn't something to run from. It's something to accept and even welcome as a part of life. Here's the thing. Most of the tasks we put off are the ones that seem hard, tedious, or unpleasant. Maybe it's starting a new project, working out, or having a difficult conversation. We delay because we want to avoid that moment of discomfort. But in reality, that avoidance just makes things worse. The task still hangs over your head, and now you've added anxiety and guilt to the mix. The Stoics believe that hardship and discomfort are inevitable parts of life, and instead of avoiding them, we should face them head on. By embracing discomfort, you train yourself to be more resilient. Think of it like building a muscle. The more you practice pushing through discomfort, the stronger you become at handling it. Take working out as an example. At first, the idea of exercise can seem daunting. It's physically uncomfortable, and it's much easier to sit on the couch. But if you push through that discomfort, you'll not only start seeing results, but you'll also build the mental toughness to take on even bigger challenges. The same goes for other areas of life. If you embrace the discomfort of starting that big project or tackling a tough task, you'll grow more confident in your ability to handle difficulties. By shifting your mindset to see discomfort as a growth opportunity rather than something to avoid, you stop procrastination in its tracks. Instead of dreading a task, You begin to see it as a chance to strengthen your resilience. So, the next time you feel like putting something off because it seems too hard or uncomfortable, remember the Stoic wisdom. Lean into the discomfort. It's where real growth happens, and once you embrace it, you'll find that taking action becomes much easier. 6. Practice self-discipline. Let's dive into the 6th Stoic technique. Practice self-discipline. Self-discipline is at the heart of Stoicism and is one of the most effective ways to overcome procrastination. The Stoics believe that by training ourselves through consistent practice, we can gain control over our impulses and act even when we don't feel like it. So, what does self-discipline really mean in the context of fighting procrastination? It's about building small, consistent habits that train your mind to act, regardless of your mood or motivation. We often think we need to feel inspired or energized to start working on something, but the truth is, waiting for motivation is a trap. Motivation comes and goes, but self-discipline keeps you moving forward, even on the days you don't feel like it. Think of self-discipline as a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. When you start small, maybe by doing one productive thing first thing in the morning, you begin to develop a habit of action. Over time, this builds momentum, and it becomes easier to take on bigger tasks without hesitation. For example, if you struggle with starting your work, you can set a rule for yourself. Work for just 10 minutes, no matter how unmotivated you feel. That small action is enough to get you going. And once you've started, you're much more likely to keep going. It's all about overcoming that initial resistance, and self-discipline is the tool that helps you do it. The Stoics believe that we must practice discipline daily, not just when we feel like it. This might mean setting specific goals, creating a routine, or setting up small challenges to push yourself out of your comfort zone. The more you stick to these practices, the less likely you'll be to fall into procrastination because your mind becomes trained to act without excuses. Ultimately, self-discipline empowers you to take control of your actions, rather than letting distractions or fleeting emotions dictate your day. So, next time you feel like putting something off, remind yourself that self-discipline is your ally. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about building the habit of action, day by day, and watching how much progress you can make when you commit to it. 7. Shift your perspective on failure. Let's dive into the 7th Stoic technique. Shift your perspective on failure. This is a game changer when it comes to overcoming procrastination because it tackles one of the biggest barriers to taking action, the fear of failure. Often, we procrastinate because we're terrified of failing. We imagine the worst possible outcomes, and this fear paralyzes us. But the Stoics had a refreshing perspective on failure that can really help us move past these fears. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Failure is a part of the process, not the end." Instead of seeing failure as something to be feared, the Stoics viewed it as an essential part of growth and learning. When you shift your perspective to see failure as a normal and necessary step on the path to success, it becomes less intimidating. Imagine you're working on a big project or trying to achieve a personal goal. If you focus only on the fear of failing, you might find yourself procrastinating, avoiding the task altogether because you don't want to face potential failure. But what if you thought of failure differently? What if, instead of a disaster, you saw it as a valuable learning opportunity? When you embrace this mindset, you start to see failure as a teacher. Every mistake or setback is a chance to learn something new, to adjust your approach, and to improve. This way, failure isn't a dead end, it's just a part of the journey. For instance, if you're hesitant to start a new venture because you're afraid it might not work out, remember that each attempt provides insights and experience. It's through these experiences that you gain the knowledge needed to succeed. Even the most successful people have faced numerous failures before achieving their goals. By changing how you view failure, you reduce its power over you. You realize that failure doesn't define you. It's merely a step along the way. So, the next time you feel stuck in procrastination because of fear, remind yourself that failure is not the end. It's an opportunity to learn and grow, making the path to success a bit clearer and a lot less daunting. 8. Use the power of present moment action. Let's explore the 8th Stoic technique. Use the power of present moment action. This Stoic principle is all about focusing on what you can do right now, rather than getting caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. Procrastination often happens when we're overwhelmed by the enormity of a task or paralyzed by anxiety about what might happen down the line. We get bogged down by thinking about the end result, deadlines, or potential obstacles. But the Stoics had a practical approach to this. Concentrate on the present moment and take action right now. Imagine you have a big project due in a week. Instead of letting the deadline loom over you and feeling stressed, focus on what you can do today. It could be something as simple as outlining your ideas or doing a small part of the work. By zeroing in on these immediate, manageable steps, you make the task feel less overwhelming and more achievable. This technique is rooted in the idea that the present moment is the only time we truly have control over. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain, but right now is where you can make a difference. By shifting your attention to what you can do in the here and now, you break down a seemingly insurmountable task into smaller, actionable pieces. For instance, if you're putting off writing a report because it feels like a massive undertaking, start by writing just one paragraph today. The key is to focus on this single step without worrying about the entire report. Once you get started, you'll often find that the momentum carries you forward, making the task seem less daunting. By using the power of present moment action, you not only make progress on your tasks, but also reduce the stress and anxiety that come from worrying about the future. So, next time you feel stuck or overwhelmed, remind yourself to focus on what you can do right now. Take that small step, and you'll find that progress becomes much easier and more manageable. Incorporating these Stoic techniques into your daily routine can transform your approach to procrastination. By focusing on what's in your control, breaking tasks into manageable parts, visualizing potential setbacks, embracing discomfort, practicing self-discipline, shifting your perspective on failure, and acting in the present moment, you'll build the resilience and motivation needed to tackle your goals. Remember, the key to overcoming procrastination lies in consistent, mindful action. Embrace these Stoic strategies and watch how they empower you to take decisive steps toward achieving your aspirations.